Okay, just a few notes on the masses, the inevitable masses, and to create a link, perhaps, with our everyday understanding and deciding about what life is, who we are as persons and peoples. Out of my little perambulation around the prodigal story, I get several conclusions we have culturally accepted. We do not change. We are not really habilitated. We are born with a good or bad nature. And if we are unlucky enough to be born bad, our destiny is to be watched and controlled. The funny thing about change in that Jungian sense is that it is meant to happen. One arrives at birth, let's say, and then a whole procession of changes flow until one dies, naturally. These changes would happen without education, religion, sophistication, pushing or pulling, without control. And we hinder at least the process. And what fun, drum roll, the central premise of the monotheisms is that we are all but one or two, born bad, meaning that change, our natural, biological, inevitable future, must be controlled, has an end, an arrival. How this influences the people persuaded right wing is obvious. The lower criminal classes, the darker peoples, the ones who did not invent the wheel or develop a nuclear weapon, the third world, whose poverty is evidence of inferiority, are deficient. The right believe in and adhere to a single omnipotent, all-knowing deity who confers to the believer the power of this God in dealing with the non-believers, etc. But what does the same belief culture do to the left, the other people, the non-right? Pretty much the same thing. The syndrome can be imagined easily. Pork is tasty, so we decide that the pig has no soul, is of a different order of being than us, so we can herd it, slaughter, and eat it. Then we did a version of this with slave owning deep into the Christian era. We Christianized slavery based on the belief that the slave was an inferior. Our Christianity was expressed as a huge advance on the primitive pagan by insisting that we might be nice to slaves. I hope that Jefferson was nice to Sally Hemings. We'll never know. And in 18th century niceness among the Jefferson class was an acquired taste. I would say that the imperatives I have just listed of the right are actually the imperatives the whole West of the West altogether, maybe society altogether. I don't know. It is being studied. It would be ridiculous and fruitless to seek for progressive amongst the powers that be of ancient Rome, for instance. So it is inconsistent to be nice to seek them in Western civilization. There was a Tiberius Gracchus who tried to create law to redistribute public land to poor citizens. So the Bernie impulse was there in ancient Rome, and he was assassinated 100 years before Caesar, who suggested some of the same things and whoever threatened the elites was in ancient Rome. Rome is the great ideal model of the West, especially the usual suspects. There were two of these Gracchi, Tiberius and Gaius, worth a movie never made, both assassinated. The claim that progressive ideas are essentially Western is a joke worthy of a god. That we sit in the middle of the swamp of individualism, knowing no other horizon but the one we can vaguely see, perhaps of mountains far away. We can fantasize about egalitarianism, but we are not bred to it. We will eventually say, and we do, my egalitarianism is better than yours. So, what the prodigal story and its fascist biblical interpretation does to the left is what I think needs looking at. I read a piece on Substack yesterday, a list of what should happen to the Republicans of America, who should be imprisoned and who killed. Well, what does this list look like? Change a few nouns and you have a plan to cleanse the nation of undesirables, to make Maduros of us all. Sorry, of course, not us, them. We become the prodigal's sullen older brother who, because he had no rebel runaway in him, he finds no grounds for anything but condemnation. We do not change. Why? Because only God giveth and only God taketh. If we are to change, it will be his decree, and even he, obviously, as the story goes, made, then watched us and judged, and then when we did not behave, when we did not change, his solution was to cleanse by drowning in his own image indeed. And science, or the scientific religion, is just a changing of hats. It is the same yearning for the infallible as belief in God. Science did not get anything wrong on COVID. There is no wonder drug that saves us all equally. One size fitting all is religious invention taken up by psychiatrists. Science had a go, a good college try, and the disruption was revealing. I object to taking measures to ensure I don't spread the disease. If we had been told the mask protected the wearer of them, we might have had different outcomes. And if you think that children staying home have had staying home or attending class on Zoom for a year is irreparable damage, you might want to broaden your understanding of the human condition a lot. Now I am here, perhaps I know we have a tremendous need for order and certainty, a natural need, insatiable and delusional. But we might value satisfying this need in other ways, in other parts of our complex and marvelous psyches. Brianna Joy Gray and Eugene Poirier, Puryear, agree that Mamdani should purge the NYPD. I would have a good look at policing altogether. I don't find that the people who become cops are a particular type, and this is a big deal, this judgment. The job description and the pay controls who might sign up, and unfortunately Hollywood, the heroic vigilante. I cringed since my idea at the start was to bring Sliwa into the fold. My project is not really to change the person, Sliwa, I think, but to change the terrain we share. Let us imagine that a Sliwa, for instance, is just a less developed person than Mamdani. That is a compromise I find that is used, but I don't think it is so. I think he's a type, like I am, and Zoran is, each of us a facet-filled part of a whole. Bree and Eugene are okay with saying the police, as they are, should not be spoken to. Bree and Eugene are made of Jesus stuff, they think. Whatever they believe, it is how we believe, how the left should. They are monoculturalists. They might disapprove of Zionist shift, but they do it Zionistically. Zoran, for them, is revealing his real self as an unimpressive thing, a liar. No motivation is sought because he is already judged. The holes in the argument are horrible, especially given the remarkable stuff of these two people, Brianna and Eugene, but I am hearing her. She is a regular listen, struggle, and search, and intuitively express her Christianic purity. They are bad. No common ground exists to be found and exploited with these NYPD. Her instinct will tell her more. They are not educated. They are racist and misogynist. We can have no doubt. Bree had a go recently at Graham Plattner, oyster farmer, ex-military, running for the Senate in Maine, owner of a past of unpleasant utterings or tweets. Her objections to him are based on these parts of his past, but the discussion was entitled Democratic Obsession with the Ex-Military, as if being a military veteran unchangeable doomed this man, all ex-military, to political limbo and unuseful characteristics. I think I'm not impressed by Plattner that a military past might produce as good a human as Harvard Law School produced, possibly better, considering the changes military service might incite in a person. Their penchant for obedience is regrettable if understandable, but history has a lot of adult ex-military, tried and therefore true. Finding adults in the Democrat ranks is tough. The current crop of Democrat politicians pretty clearly suggest we should look deeper than Ivy League lawyers in the future. This might be personal taste, but this crop is deeply disappointing. And worse for me, as I'm a huge fan and respecter of Brianna, her take looks like a reason we have such a shoddy lot. She feels betrayed by Bernie, which has nada to do with Bernie and more to do with how even the brightest people deal with leaders. Mamdani's dad has pointed out to the purists that his son has to work with people not like him, who disagree on some essentials, but this is democracy. Left-wing intolerance of dissent is all over recent history. The collective lover of diversity is not a creation of education. As an author recently posed, university does not change people, it just makes them more articulate, expressing the views they came in with. The changeling, lover of diversity might be a natural human condition, not found through censorship, but through allowing.